Shabbat Shalom, everyone. I hope you're doing well. This week's Parsha is Vayeshev. And it's the beginning of the section of the Torah talking about Joseph and his brothers, which is some of my favorite stories in the Torah. Honestly, for this first Parsha that talks about Joseph, we should truly just turn on the Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat musical because it's just so good. The musical is really great. The music's so great. Just like stylistically, it's just an incredible piece of art. And it also is the story of Joseph. So we love Joseph. Okay. First of all, the fact that there's the DreamWorks Joseph King of Dreams and Joseph the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, that's pretty amazing. That's something from the Torah. That a story, however you view it to be a true events or just sort of fable, made it and is such a just lasting cultural something is just very interesting to me. So Jacob's family has been living in Hebron in Israel. So if we remember, the place that Jacob was for a long time was in Haran, which is where Laban lived with Rachel and Leah, where Jacob met Rachel and Leah, and then they came back to Israel. So he settles in Israel with all of his wives, with Leah, with Rachel, with Bilhah, with Zilpah, and then all of their 12 sons. And of course, famously, Joseph is the second to youngest, and he is the favorite because he's the first child of Rachel, Jacob's most favorite wife. And Joseph is favored by Jacob. Does this sound a little familiar with the life of Jacob? Wasn't Jacob favored by Rebecca, over his twin brother Esau? And didn't that end not so well? Yeah. Yeah. We just see these patterns over and over and over with Jacob: deceit and favoring, really not good things. So Joseph is the favorite of Jacob. He doesn't have to go work in the fields because he's smart. He is, he's given this Technicolor dream coat, this many-colored dream coat, whether it's a very fine wool coat or actually made of different colors is unclear based on our commentary. But whatever it is, the brothers recognize that Jacob has favored Joseph, and it's never right to do this. And not only does Jacob favor Joseph outright, Joseph is also kind of annoying. He has these dreams that we don't know at the time are prophetic, but turn out to be pretty, significant later in his life. He has all these dreams. One of them is that all of his siblings were these stalks of wheat, and he's the tallest one, and they all bow to him. And then there's also one where he saw 11 stars, and that all the stars bowed to his star. It was the brightest of them all. And he tells his brothers about these dreams, and it's just like, read the room, have some emotional intelligence, have some empathy. It's really kind of surprising. And we criticize, or I'm criticizing Joseph as if he's a person with thoughts and feelings and that's fully developed. Who knows? Maybe his prefrontal cortex wasn't totally developed yet. I think we meet him when he's age 17, which famously is a really non-prefrontal cortex developed time of someone's life. So fine, he's a kid, whatever. But the siblings really grow to resent him in such a way that one day he's out in the fields and they plan to kill him. They plan to kill their little brother. So much so much has he irritated them, gotten under their skin, hurt them. They decide to kill him. What a horrible thing. Fratricide. And Ruvain, the oldest, says, no. In an attempt to save Joseph, apparently, says, no, let's not kill him. Let's just throw him in this pit, hoping that then he could come back later and save Joseph. Well, while Joseph is in the pit, a group of Ishmaelites come by and they sell Joseph to the Ishmaelites for a couple gold coins. And they're like, well, what are we going to tell Jacob? It's his favorite son. What are we going to do? And famously, they take Joseph's beautiful coat, the fine coat that who knows how many craftsmen, how many days, how many months it took to make this coat. And they dip it in goat's blood and they tell Jacob, they deceive Jacob and tell him, your son has been killed by a wild beast. And we're so sorry. Cue One More Angel in Heaven, the great Western number in Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. Jacob is devastated, rightfully so. And we learned that Rachel passes away after giving birth to Benjamin, and we can, as far as we know, Benjamin was not born before Joseph was so Rachel is still alive before Joseph is taken away. But aside from the point, Joseph then taken to Egypt, where he's bought by Potiphar, who I think he was like the butcher of the meat monger for Pharaoh. And Joseph is so good at his job that Potiphar's wife starts to covet him, starts to want to lay with him. And when Joseph spurns her, she lies to Potiphar and tells him that Joseph forced himself upon her, which of course isn't true. But we call Joseph Hatzadik in our commentaries because apparently Joseph was so righteous. She was a very beautiful woman. And the fact that Joseph didn't sleep with this married woman, well, what a tzaddik he is. Wouldn't you say that's like a normal thing to do? Why are we calling someone a tzaddik for not committing adultery? I mean, look, it sounds like he was a great guy otherwise, but like, why is that? Like, he's Yosef Hatzadik because he didn't sleep with a married woman? Okay. I just, it not compelling to me. So Joseph goes to prison. And I think he was in prison for 12 years because he was 18 maybe when he was put into prison. He was 17 when he was sold to Potiphar, is in prison for 12 years and comes out when he's 30. Before he comes out of prison, we don't get to that this week's Parsha. He starts to interpret dreams while in prison. And there's a butler and a baker, and he tells their dreams for them, of course, famously told in Go 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 Joseph before the big Act 1 finale of Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. One dream, he's like, "Oh, bro," the baker, he's like, "This is not good for you," and the butler, he's like, "Oh no, things are going to be fine for you." And the Joseph says, "Please, just one thing that I ask of you when you get out of here, please just remember me and help me to be free." And the parsha ends with the butler forgetting about Joseph. And something that I learned is that the Parshiot kind of end at awkward points. Why do they end at awkward points? You think they would end at the end of a story? No, the Parshiot are all meant to end when there's something positive happening. So why is the Parsha ending with the butler forgetting about Joseph if every Parsha has to end in a positive note? Perhaps Joseph being forgotten about is a good thing. And that's something that we can look more into. Why is it good for Joseph to be forgotten about? So that when the time comes when he is remembered, it's more significant. Perhaps he wasn't ready to be let out. It's an interesting thing to think about, like if every parsha actually ends on a positive note, and if this is truly the most positive part of this particular part of the story, perhaps it's that this was the path for Joseph, that it's always a positive thing, even if it seems negative at the time, because it's the thing that helps him to end up being able to succeed. And we'll get to the rest of Joseph's story another week, but do me a favor and go watch the Andrew Lloyd Webber version of Joseph. It is on YouTube, I think, with Danish subtitles, but it's there nonetheless. Shabbat shalom. I hope you have a great week, and God willing, I'll see you next week.